Good morning, friends. Today we are going to continue the next part of this unit. In the last lecture, we have discussed the different quantification methods that are used in these both techniques, that is the FES and the AS. Three different methods that we have discussed in the last lecture. One was the calibration curve method, second one was the standard addition method, and the third one was the internal standard method. As you know, all these three methods has their own significance depending upon the conditions of the sample. That three methods are used, that we know and that we have seen how that graph will be plotted in these three different methods that we have discussed and seen in the particular type. Today we have to compare this FES, means flame emission spectroscopy, with the atomic absorption spectroscopy. The first point of the difference is that the name itself indicates that one is based on the emission and another one is the absorption. The first point of difference is the emission and absorption. FES, in the FES, it depends on the emission of the light by excited atoms, and in AS it will depends on absorption of the radiation by atoms in the ground state. This is the basic difference in between these two techniques. This basic difference is that one is based on the emission by the excited atoms, whereas other is based on absorption of the radiation by the element or atoms in the GS. That is the basic difference in between the FES and the AS. The second point of difference is when an element is introduced in the flame, few atoms absorb the thermal energy of the flame and get excited. The excited atoms emits the light and return to the ground state. The intensity of the emitted light is measured. Measured. Spelling of the measured is wrong. MEASURED, measured. This measure is different one. Please correct the spelling. Measure is measured. MESURED, measured. MEASURED, measured. Or say it's recorded. You can use the word record. In absorption spectroscopy, what will happen when an element introduced into the flame, most of the atoms remains in the ground state. These atoms absorbs their characteristics wavelengths. This absorption of light is measured. Got this point? Second point of difference is that in the FES, when element or a sample is introduced into the flame, at that time what will happen? Few will absorb the thermal energy of the flame and get excited, and the excited state is a short-lived one. The excited atoms will come to the ground state by emitting the light, and in that we are going to record the intensity of that emitted light, or you can call the intensity of the emitted light is measured. Same way here in case of the AS, when here we are going to introduce the sample or the element into the flame, most of the atoms there should be that most of the atoms should be in the ground state, and that atoms will absorb the characteristics light, and this absorption will be recorded or say measured. Then third point of difference is about the sensitivity. FES is less sensitive than the AS, whereas AS is more sensitive than the FES. Then fourth point of difference, the number of excited atoms is dependent on the temperature, and hence emission intensity is also dependent on the temperature, whereas in absorption spectroscopy it is independent upon the flame temperature. Then in for the APS, Beer-Lambert's law is not applicable. But in case of the AS, Beer-Lambert's law is obeyed over a range of concentration. Hence, absorbance is directly proportional to the concentration of atom. Got this point? In APS, temperature, excitation of the atom depends upon the temperature of the flame, whereas in case of the AS, it is independent on the flame temperature. Fifth point is Beer-Lambert's law is not applicable in case of the APS, whereas Beer-Lambert's law is applicable or say obey over a range of concentration. Hence, the absorbance is directly proportional to the concentration of the atom. Sixth point of difference is the spectral interference in FES is higher than AS, whereas the spectral interference is less in the AS as compared to the FES. These are the points. 5 points you have to write for the 5 marks in the exam. If for the FES 5 point and same opposite point for the AS that you have to write during the exam. Please prepare this difference. Sometime the question of the 5 marks is coming based on this. Compare the FES with the AS or distinguish between the FES AS. What are the advantages of FES over the AS? That may come like this, question may come like this. You have to read it, you have to remember it, you have to write it again and again with the help of the pencil on the blank pages. Then you can recall or say remember easily. Got this point? And it is a very simple things are there, not that much complicated are. You have to prepare, you have to read it again and again, then it will get clear. Got this point? There are these 6 point of the point which are there for the, I think the 5 points are only there, or say 6 are there, 6 points are there. You have to do it well. You have to write any 5 points from this particular thing, but this second point is very much important, that should be there. Otherwise you will skip that second point and write you can write the last point. It should not be there. Second point of difference is very much important, because what is the basic difference that is shown there. Okay, then we have to talk about application of the FES. Question will be there, give the applications of the APS. It is useful for the determination of the alkali and alkaline earth metals, because method of determination. Three metal in traces by other methods are not easy, and in some cases are not available. It is useful for determination of alkali and alkali earth metal, because method of determination of three metals in a traces by other method are not easy, and in some cases are not available. Example, sodium, potassium and calcium. It is used in the study of electrolyte balance in physiology and in clinical analysis. It is also used in determination of lead in petrol. It is used in the study of the equilibrium constant involving ion exchange regime. It is also used in detection of the sodium, potassium, calcium, aluminum, cobalt and iron in the biological fluid and the tissues. It is routinely used in the determination of the sodium, potassium, calcium, aluminum, cobalt, iron, magnesium, titanium in soil sample, rock sample, water, glass, ores, alloys, cement and metallurgical products. Metallurgical products. Metallurgical products means All these, whatever the metals, these are called as the metallurgical products. Then applications of the AS. It is useful for the determination about the 70 elements. This is applicable for the selective alkaline earth metals, but it is applicable for the 70 elements. Then next point is that it is useful in the determination of much lower concentration, that is below 1 ppm. It is used to estimate trace metals in the clinical and biological sample. Then it is used to estimate sodium and potassium in the blood serum. It is also used to estimate lead in petrol. It is used to determine the mercury poisoning. It is also used to determine the trace metals like the molybdenum, tungsten, titanium, and radium in the vanadium in the steel and other alloys. Forensic material, soil fertilizer used to study the pollution and the food adulteratives. These are the applications of the AIs. Simultaneously, you have to prepare applications. See, APS is useful for the determination of the alkali and the alkaline earth metal, because method of determination of these three metals in places by other method are not easy, and in some cases are not available. Sodium, potassium, calcium. That's why APS is prominently used. Got this point? Then it is used to study electrolytic balance in the physiological and in clinical analysis. You know, if you see in our body, sodium potassium level should be maintained. To study this particular electrolytic balance, that is used. It is also used in determination of the lead in the petrol. It is also used in the study of the equilibrium constant involving ion exchanger as zinc. Then it is also used to study the biological fluids and the tissues for the detection of these elements, that you have to remember. Then also it is routinely used in the determination of these particular elements. Which one? Sodium, potassium, calcium, aluminum, cobalt, decay, cobalt, iron, magnesium, titanium in the soil sample, rock sample, then the water, glass, ores, alloys, cements, and metallurgical, metallurgy. Metallurgy spelling is METALLURGICAL. This joint word is the metallurgical products. Metallurgical products, I said all the metallic product were formed. They are called as metallurgical products. Metallurgical products are nothing but the industry which produce the metallic that particular things, or say you can say the containers likewise, or another ties like, or any utensils. They are all the metallurgical products. Or even though the parts of the vehicles, these are also the metallurgical products. Then we have to see the applications of this particular AS. AS is generally used. This AS is used for determination of about 70 elements. It is useful in the determination of much lower concentration, that is less than 1 ppm. It is used to estimate trace metals in the clinical and biological samples. It is used to estimate sodium and potassium in the blood serum. Very simple it is. Here about the 70 elements can be determined using the AS, but whereas APS is restricted for the limited metal atoms. That we have to. This is the basic point of difference. uh, we have seen the point of difference that you can write if the advantages asked, then you can write it there at the advantages, and these applications you can include in the advantages. Then it is used to estimate the trace metals in the clinical and biological samples. It is used to estimate the sodium and potassium in the blood serum. It is also used to estimate lead in the petrol. Then it is also used to determine the mercury poisoning. It is also used to determine the trace metal like the molybdenum, tungsten, titanium, and the vanadium in the steel and other alloys. Forensic material, soil, and the fertilizer also be analyzed. This AS is used to study the pollution and the food adulteration. These are the applications of the AS and application of the APIs. This is the very much important. Sometime the difference, or say sometime that this difference will be there, or sometime the applications will be there in the exam. You have to prepare it well. You have to remember this point. First is simply the emission technique, and another one is the absorption technique. Then in the second step, you have to write in detail about the operation in the APS and the operation in the AS, how that we are going to measure the intensity of the emitted light and how we are going to measure the absorption intensity. Then FES, we have seen it is less sensitive because it is limited for the alkali and alkaline earth metal, whereas this is more sensitive than the FES. It may be applicable for the number of elements can be detected using this particular, means sensitive for the more number of the atoms elements. Then here in the flame, temperature of the flame is very much important, whereas in case of the AS it is independent on the flame temperature. That you have to remember, flame temperature is very much important and useful in case of the FES, whereas in case of the AS the flame temperature is not that much important, means AS technique is independent upon the flame temperature. Of course, emission is that Beer-Lambert's law is not valid in the FES, whereas Beer-Lambert's law is followed in AS because it is applicable over the range of concentration, where the absorption is directly proportional to the concentration of the atoms, or say whatever the sample is there, you can correlate for that. Spectral interference in the FES is higher than AS. Of course, due to the less sensitivity, there will be the spectral interference. Due to the more sensitive, there will be the less spectral interference in the AS. In the exam, out of the 6 points, you have to write the any 5 points, first, second, third, fourth, and the fifth. Up to this you can write, because second point you can't skip. Whole your technique is there in the second point. You can't skip that point. That's why you have to prepare it well. Okay. Then we have seen the applications of the APS and the applications of the AS. First, it is applicable for the determination of the alkali and the alkaline earth metal, because method of determination of three metals in traces by other method are not easy and in some cases are not available. Sodium, potassium and the calcium. It is used in the study of the electrolytic balance that we have seen. Then it is also used in determination of the lead in the petrol. AS is also used in to estimate the lead in the petrol. Clinical and the biological sample here is the same. Clinical and the biological samples are there. Here very low concentration of these elements you can determine. It is used to estimate the trace metals in the clinical and the biological samples. Okay, this we have seen already. Then mercury poisoning you can also determine using the AS. Then you can also use it to study or determine the trace metals like this molybdenum, tungsten, titanium and vanadium in the steel and the other alloys. Then the forensic material, soil, fertilizer can be analyzed using the AS. AS is used to study the pollution and the food adulteration, that you have to remember. These are the applications of this particular both the techniques. In the next lecture we will talk about the limitations of this particular techniques. Please read it well, please practice it well, because once you read then it is very easy to remember. If you are not reading that particular part whatever we have discussed or say explained in the lecture, then it is very difficult to remember. Please make the habit of reading accordingly. Do that, prepare that your topic, the concept and the content of your topic will be get cleared when you daily see this lecture. If you have any problem, any difficulty, any doubt, you can easily ask or freely ask on the groups. Please prepare the lecture, please prepare this please remember that as the exam point of view, you have to prepare, you have to study, daily test you have to give, it is compulsory. Please complete, please make the habit of reading. That's I am again requesting all to make the habit of the reading, because once you read, if you are making the habit of reading, then for this analytical chemistry it is very easy, and only you can prepare this paper well if you are reading this notes regularly. Okay, then if you have any doubt, any difficulty, you can easily ask on any group. These applications and difference point of the difference that you have to prepare well. If you have any problem, any difficulty, any doubt, you can ask on any mode. Please go through this part well, prepare this application well. Very simple applications are there, very simple point of difference is there. Please go through this part well, then and then only it will become the easy. Okay, today we will stop here, then the next part we will continue in the next lecture. Okay, please go through this lecture. If you are not getting any point, you can ask. Thank you.